guys, welcome back. My name is Gabrielle, and today I wanted to do something a little different for me. I wanted to do sort of a video essay type of video. I love watching other people do these, whether it's somebody like Smokey Glow or Tiffany Ferg or Khadija Bow or FD Signifier. Like, I watch a bunch of creators like those, and I thought that I would do my own. I don't know how often I'm going to do these type of videos, especially seeing how I have recorded this already twice and I don't like my voice. I don't like the way that I've been saying it. Yeah, we'll see if this even makes the light of day. I wanted to talk about Blue's Clues. I wanted today to be wholesome, which again, I don't know if I'm gonna go into like really deep topics, but I just wanted to start it off with Blue's Clues. As you can see, I've got the drip. This was actually a Christmas gift from my mom a couple years ago, so who knew that it would come in handy. And I'm gonna do my makeup while I talk about it so that it aligns with my content a little better, and I also feel like it is somehow easier for me to talk when I'm doing my makeup. So lately, a lot of us have been digitally reunited with Steve Burns, previous host of the beloved children's television show Blue's Clues. To this day, I still think it's a very sweet and wholesome show. It is an educational show that teaches the viewer a lot of important skills from a young age, like learning how to draw, cleaning up after yourself, to critical thinking and observational skills. Steve was the host of this show from its premiere in 1996 up until 2002. I was 5 when he left, and I was definitely one of the youngest people to watch him, but I still remember Steve like a lot. Somehow, like for being that young, I remember him quite a bit. I would imagine that anyone born from the years 1992 to 1994 remembers Steve's run the most, because when the show premiered, they were old enough to comprehend the show and like take it all in, and there's a good chance that they were still watching the show when he left. He was replaced by Donovan Patton, who we know as Joe. He's supposed to be Steve's brother, I guess, to sort of ease us into not seeing Steve anymore, as well as to say, like, he's my brother, so I trust him to watch over my puppy instead of like this random stranger in your house. I kind of wish we were calling him Donovan, to be honest. I think that's a cool name. I mean, Steve's real name is Steve, and Josh's real name is Josh, who is the host today. So technically, Steve's name is Steven. I feel like I've been living a lie, because now I feel like Steven doesn't... His name is Steven. Steven, yes. I couldn't find anything as to why we call him Joe and not his real name. But anyway, when we got this new host, we really missed Steve. And it wasn't to say that Joe was bad, it's just that we really missed Steve. It was like when your teacher's brother dies and they take months off, so you have this substitute teacher that you don't know and that you have to get used to, and get used to their style after you were already trying to get used to your current teacher's way of teaching. That was kind of a specific example. It happened to me twice. My first grade teacher and my third grade teacher, both of them had brothers that died, and they took months off, like months, and I had a sub. It was like the same person each day, and yeah. Anyways. And so I come today to ask, why are we so obsessed with Steve? Why did him coming back to us to say,
"Hi, you got a second?"
make us so happy? The memes that came from it were on another level. Like, some people were saying that he came back before their own dads did. There was this other meme of somebody showing a screenshot of like a bank account, and it had like $9 in it, and it said, "We ain't done shit, Steve." Him coming back, though, is honestly a genius idea from Nickelodeon. Taking a child's show where the audience is now in their 20s or older and bringing the star back to say hello is a fantastic idea, and Steve is the perfect person for that. Even if it was simply a marketing tactic, because this year is 25 years of Blue's Clues, but it's still a really good idea. I watched some episodes of Blue's Clues on Paramount Plus, and honestly, it was bliss. It's so cute. Like, I would die for Blue. I mean, doesn't seeing this book open just make you happy? Like, my jaw was on the floor. I think Steve is kind of like our favorite teacher from elementary school, except that when it comes to school, you know that you're gonna have a last day and you know that you're not gonna see that teacher anymore. And even then, you can still see them. It just won't be like every day in class. And so with Steve, we were like, we're never going to see him ever again. And keep in mind, this was 2002, where we didn't have Twitter or Instagram where we could just look him up and follow him and keep up with him. Like, this was truly it. Like, oh man, we're never gonna see him again. It wasn't just him teaching us shapes or colors or differentiating patterns, but his personality also really drew us to him as kids. He was really comforting to watch, and he was really big on positive reinforcement. Asking us for our help, saying like, will you help us? It makes us feel needed. And in the end, when we figured out Blue's Clues, he would say that we were really smart. He wasn't necessarily like a dad, and I wouldn't even call him a brother either. He was an adult figure, but he had a youthful look and personality, so we saw him as a friend who was really fun and really sweet. He had a dorky style with his striped shirt and his khakis. It's a simple look in the grand scheme of style, but it's extremely iconic and recognizable today. Imagine Steve serving at the Met Gala. I'm wearing my striped shirt from Versace. The show in general also had an iconic aesthetic, from the handy dandy notebook to the thinking chair to the picture frame on the wall where we would later skidoo. As I was looking at videos for this, Steve still makes me laugh, whether it was something he said 20 years ago or today.
There's a younger child eating his own hand. Kinda like that. My favorite letter I ever got said, "Dear Steve, I want to be a pizza. Bye." That was my favorite letter I ever got.
Have you seen Blue, my puppy?
Don't
Blue,
think I could sound
what are
like
you
that.
up to? Don't have everything ready for snacks?
He's delightful, this guy. I'm exhausted just watching this man.
Oh, yes! How did that even happen?
It was really, really sweet. I gotta go call my therapist. I'll be back.
Also, his Instagram handle is Steve Burns Alive. I think to be an adult on a kid's show and to be really appealing and entertaining to children is a really, really hard thing to do. Like, think about Jerry Trainer from Drake and Josh and iCarly. That man is hysterical. He was really good at making us kids laugh with his really outlandish personality, and that's not easy. And Steve wasn't somebody who was yelling and screaming all the time like Crazy Steve was. Steve Crazy. But his gentleness and his silliness was comforting to us. It's something that we need as kids while our brains are still developing. Sometimes our teachers in school, sometimes even our own parents are not like this, unfortunately, our own peers even, and they make us feel stupid for not knowing something that we're still learning and we haven't quite figured out yet. And obviously, since he wasn't with us in person, he wasn't making us feel bad, but he probably wouldn't make us feel bad anyway. Like, he gives off the impression that he's just as genuine in real life. This isn't to say that if you love Steve, it's because your parents were mean or that you weren't getting positive reinforcement anywhere else. It's just that when you're such a fragile age, anyone who teaches you things and makes you feel smart and confident when you understand them is really going to stick with you, and it really sticks with you also when they do the opposite. And going back to Steve being like our favorite teacher, he was our teacher for 6 years. We got so used to him being there that we didn't expect him to just leave and like have his own life. When it comes to these preschool shows, at least during this time period, there were not a lot of humans. Which is a weird thing to say, but think about it. Dora the Explorer, Winnie the Pooh, Bear in the Big Blue House, Roly Poly Oly, Barney, The Muppets, Teletubbies, the list goes on. Many of these shows were animated or just somebody that was like in a costume. Blue's Clues was one of a few, being alongside shows like The Wiggles, The Big Comfy Couch, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and Gullah Gullah Island. Sesame Street has obviously been around since 1969 and has paved the way for specifically human characters interacting with fictional fictional characters. And I'm sure there are more shows than these with like actual people in them, but there were certainly way more cartoons or just like gigantic mascots, at least during this time. Now, when we compare Blue's Clues to other human shows, it was really one of its kind. The Wiggles was, first of all, fucking iconic, and they were my first concert when I was 4. But it was just a show to be silly and to sing and dance. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't as like intimate as Blue's Clues was. This is a side note, but the Wiggles recently covered Elephants by Tame Impala, and it was really cute. And Greg, unfortunately, was not there. I hope he's doing okay. I hope everyone in the Wiggles is doing okay. Because as we know, Greg was diagnosed with dysautonomia a while ago. I just hope that they're all well. Mr. Rogers was sort of similar to Steve, where there's one human main character, but he obviously interacted with other people, and he of course had his puppets. He also had props, which Steve did not, which we will get to. And then shows like Gullah Gullah Island and The Big Comfy Couch were more plot-based, where you could kind of just relax and be entertained. But these shows still definitely had their impact, and I especially think that Gullah Gullah Island was an important show, since having an all-black cast was unfortunately rare. Another thing that separates Blue's Clues from these other kinds of shows is that Steve is the only human, like the only person on the show at all. Sometimes there were guests, like his neighbor or his grandma, but it was mostly just him. When filming, he would just be in front of a screen where the universe that we see on TV simply just does not exist, and he's interacting with nothing. Like nothing at all. Sometimes the crew would be alongside him, but again, that's still really difficult to pull off. And again, this isn't to say that Joe and Josh are bad hosts and that they're not able to do this. They are. I'm just highlighting that this is a massive talent to have. Some people can't even act when they have cast members and props. And so when we've got this really talented actor and they leave this show that's still gonna air, not only without them, but with somebody else in their place, it's impossible for us to just be like, okay, yeah, this totally makes sense for you to be here. Like, think about Avatar: The Last Airbender. The original voice of Uncle Iroh, Mako Iwamatsu, I hope I'm saying that right, passed away in 2006 while the show was still going. And so they got a new voice actor, Greg Baldwin, who voiced Iroh for the last season and for The Legend of Korra. And sometimes you can certainly tell when it's a different voice, but in cases like these where the voice actor nails the character so well, it's a pretty smooth transition in our brains. It's a lot easier for us when we can attach this newer voice to somebody that we were already visually seeing and like watching, keeping up with, and you can't do that when it's a human. If we think about Halloween Town and how Kimberly J. Brown wasn't in the last movie, Return to Halloween Town, it felt weird for Marnie to just be this other person who was Sarah Paxton, who isn't the Marnie that we grew up with. And even if they're not bad, they're just not who we know. I also just really like the way that Blue's Clues was written. It's obviously meant to teach children. And something I noticed while watching it is that they let you, the audience, find the clue first. And then Steve will turn around and he'll be like, what?
We're constantly thinking of new ways to be breakthrough with the education and with the storylines of Blue's Clues. We write for the preschooler in their point of view, and we're looking at their cognitive thinking skills and their problem solving.
I love that what we're doing with Steve is that we're actually going to have him think about the fact that the kids at home always find the clues first.
While the episodes were still in production, they were actually shown to preschoolers, which I think is only logical because they are the audience.
A clue on the box. There's a clue? Yeah. Where is it? Right there.
They also mentioned that this show is meant to represent them, even if it is just through like inanimate objects, and they add on to that by having children voice them as well. They also tell their audience that it's pretty easy to make these characters in your own real life, since it is all just household items and they're not these like crazy advanced drawings.
So basically, all the characters on Blue's Clues have the simple design of 2 little dots for eyes or googly eyes, and you can take these eyes and have an instant character, as in Mr. Three-Hole Punch. Hello?
Squishy pillow face guy. Hi, squishy pillow face guy.
Hey, Steve, how you doing? It's good to see you.
Normal chicken, scared chicken. Look at that fuzzy head guy. Huh? And so that's pretty much the way you make anything extraordinary with googly eyes.
I like how the creator of the show, Tracy Page Johnson, is the voice of Blue, and she still is to this day. Voice acting is such a skill, especially when it's an animal. Like going back to Avatar, it was only one person who voiced all the animals. Appa, Momo. Oh my god, was there another animal or was it just Appa and Momo? So his name is D. Bradley Baker, and he also voiced Pabu and Naga in The Legend of Korra, and just all these other characters here. Like, this man has done a lot. Speaking of this whole time, where is the show today? It's technically under the name Blue's Clues and You, and is currently being hosted by Josh De La Cruz since 2019. I'm certainly happy that we have a host of color. A Filipino host is certainly well overdue. Josh has his own style. He sings the songs a little differently, and he also plays the guitar quite a bit. Also, his shirt is blue, which is another thing that I noticed. I noticed that each host has a different shirt. The handy dandy notebook is a phone now, which is weird to me. I guess because phones came much later in my life. Also, mail time. We've still got mailbox, but he comes in to let you know that you've got an email, which is weird. It's like, I didn't know that kids knew about emails. Like, do they get excited by emails? Like, dear God. The characters are also a little more 3D now. Like with Blue, she actually has texture and you can actually see fur on her. The paw print is actually a lighter shade of blue now and it sparkles. I didn't want to talk and do lipstick at the same time. That sounds really hard. Steve still appears on the show as well as Joe. Josh was basically FaceTiming them, which was funny, but I like that they still get to keep a relationship with Blue and that they're not just gone from her life forever. There's a few minor differences, but the show pretty much has the same formula, with finding clues to see what it is that Blue wants with other random tasks along the way. With Steve still being a part of the show, I think kids of today will grow up to adore him just like we did. He's still got his adorable and infectious personality. I think he really showed us that it's okay to be dorky and silly, and to take the time and patience to observe what's around us and to put puzzle pieces together for a solution. He made it look like there really wasn't anything that we couldn't solve. Watching the show today as a 24-year-old was honestly escapism. And I think that for some of us as kids, it was escapism then too, because childhood isn't always as happy and blissful as people tend to say that it is. Maybe we're not like paying rent or taking antidepressants, but it can be hard. It can be hard and it can be really dark. And I think a lot of us really look to these shows to feel good and feel happy, seeing how much they mean to us today. I honestly don't know what kids today look to. I'm not really around any kids. I see that a lot of them watch what you're watching now, which is YouTube, so I don't know what their nostalgia is going to be when they grow up. If it will be Blue's Clues with Josh, or Paw Patrol, Fortnite, JoJo Siwa, like what do they watch? I don't know. But this is our nostalgia, and I loved the show then, and I love it now, and it's going to be sad when they finally stop airing it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If my hands are blue, it's because I got fucking loose powder in my eyeshadow palette and I had to wipe it off and it was a lot. So yes, I look like this. I'm almost making a blue paw print. But yeah, I had fun getting to watch Blue's Clues again, looking back at Steve and looking at some more recent videos of Steve, and following him on Instagram. Leave me a comment down below. What did you love about Blue's Clues? I love Blue so much. I love Magenta. What was your favorite childhood show, like Nick Jr. or like Playhouse Disney or PBS? What did you love? And what was your reaction to seeing Steve again, where he's like, you look good, and you're like, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. You've been a lovely audience, and I'll talk to you later.